Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Dr. Kent Show. It's going to be the second edition on this series. I'm just starting to number them. I just watched Black Conservative Patriot, and he gave us a blurb from Adam Kinzinger, some rhino Republican somewhere in the middle of the country, giving his farewell address. And I'm wondering how that jackass got elected. He says several things which are false. Number one, that we attacked the Capitol. No, I would have to say we got suckered. We got set up to make it look like we attacked the Capitol. Make it look like the people attacked the Capitol. And frankly, it was a government operation. It was another FBI operation. January 6th was planned at least a year in advance. It was a sucker punch, a sucker move. And that just shows you how integrated this evil beast system is. What do I mean by evil beast system? Look, folks, if you read the Bible, you realize there were several beast modes, if you will, several countries in the Bible, and we're at the culmination of the beast system on planet Earth, which started a long time ago. It probably started in previous Earth ages. Well, what's an Earth age? You might want to know. It's about 12,000 years, and we're at the end of the Earth age. So we're due for renewal, which is going to be pretty rough on everybody, everything on the surface. When the Earth gets reborn, it is a rough deal. Adam Kinzinger. What the hell were you doing in office to begin with? What a dumbass. You're accusing the people like the Democrats do? How can the people attack their own house? They can't. That was an inside job done by Nancy Pelosi, more than likely than anybody else. Maybe planned by the FBI and handed to her so she could execute it. Or maybe she planned it. I don't know. I don't think she's that bright. Somebody else probably planned it. That South's brain could not do anything that intricate, I don't think. But then again, she's a lot more evil and wicked than what you think. She's more capable than what you think. But as Adam Kinzinger cited the Oklahoma City bombing, and I got news for Representative Congressman Kinzinger. I'm so glad you're leaving office, you dumbass. First of all, the Oklahoma City bombing was done by the government. It wasn't done by any terrorists. It was done under the Clinton administration. And the purpose of the Oklahoma City bombing? Well, let's see. They moved in Whitewater records the day before the bombing. You think maybe destroying Hillary, the beast, investigational records and saving her ass might have been part of what was going on? Yeah. It killed 19 children. Right? Almost everybody was out of the building from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. All of their agents were gone, except, I believe, a secretary. So they didn't get creamed. The whole thing was a setup. How do we know that? Cody Snodgrass, otherwise nicknamed Golden Elk. He told us he was approached to do the job. He went into the woods. His handler or supervisor had a backpack filled with $500,000 in cash. That was the down payment on the job. He was going to get the other half when he completed the job. When he asked the supervisor where the job was and found out it was on American soil, he basically told him to go pound sand. There was no way that he was going to do any bombing. That's what his expertise was, and he did several jobs overseas, apparently for our government. He wasn't going to do a bombing on American soil and risk women and children's lives. And the Oklahoma City bombing was a crime. Never investigated by this government, because this government is complicit. The Oklahoma City bombing was done to protect big business, the medical military industrial complex. It was done to protect the medical military industrial complex. You better get used to that term because that's what we're living in. It's not just a military industrial complex. It's a medical military industrial complex. I might just put that in the title. The Oklahoma City bombing was planned way in advance. It was planned so much in advance that there was an ATF agent, a field agent, a female agent, a black female agent in the ATF who discovered the horrible plot 6 weeks before they bombed the building. And the ATF, going through proper channels to her superiors, turned it into the FBI. And what did the FBI do? They told the ATF to stand down. And then what happens? 6 weeks later, the FBI murders 19 children in that nursery down in the basement of it, or the lower floor. I want you to think about that. It was an inside job. Just like 9/11 was an inside job. This government lies about everything. It's not our government. It's totally controlled. It is the beast system. And it will burn from one end to the other. So my question is to you. Are you going to sit there and burn with it? Are you going to sit there idly by, and let them burn this beautiful nation, this beautiful land from one end to the other? Because that's what you're headed for. I've been warning you, and I'm going to continue warning you. You're going to get nuked. There's no way around it except one way. Now, there's a link down below. You can read my Bible. Buy my Bible. Why my Bible? Because it's the best one. It's the best one since the year 274 BC. Think about that. 2,300 years ago, the Bible was translated into Greek. The guy produced the Septuagint. Why? Because most of the Israelites had left the promised land. They were in dispersion and they had become Hellenized. Most of them were up in Greece, up in other areas. A lot of them were already in Europe. Yes, they crossed the Caucasus mountain range. Were named Caucasians after the Caucasus Mountains. And generally speaking, our ancestors crossed the Caucasus Mountains in approximately, shortly after 722 BC, after the Assyrians first attacked northern Israel, the house of Israel. And eventually the Babylonians joined in and attacked the southern part, the house of Judah. Guys, got to read the Bible. You really do. It's got a wonderful bunch of stories in it. It's got some pretty ugly stuff in it. There's a lot of evil in there. I mean, there's some ugly, ugly stuff. But the Bible doesn't open itself up to the casual reader. And if you stick to the King James Bible, in the original Old English, it's problematic. There are errors in it. And the modern English is so much better. Now, the proper name version of the King James Bible is the King James Bible. But it's in modern English, gets rid of the these and the thous. The syntax is in the proper order that we've come to expect in our language in modern English today. More importantly, it mentions the name of Creator Father Yahweh. It's got it in there. And you need to learn that name. And you need to pray for your next president because he's going to be getting down on his knees praying. He doesn't know Yahweh yet, but Yahweh knows him. So he needs to be getting down on his knees and praying to Yahweh because it's going to get really ugly. We're being attacked on all fronts. They are waging an unlimited war against us. It's an unlimited war that they're waging. They've even used nuclear on us. They're using biologicals on us. They're using chemicals on us. They're using electronics, electrical radiation. They're using sound. They use light. They use the air. They've been spraying us again. They put stuff in the water, stuff in the food. There's crap in our clothes even. Harmful chemicals and chips in the clothes. They've been putting them in the clothes to track us. Those chips were to the best of my knowledge, produced in Chandler, Arizona, back during the Gulf War, quite a while back. Same place probably that produced the chips that went in all those improvised explosive devices, the IEDs, that the Iraqis ingeniously used against us. That was an illegal war. We never should have gotten in it. My God, if I was president, I'd be getting George Bush's ass up there and I'd be handing him over to the Iraqi people and telling them, we apologize. This is the jackass that waged war on your people, that lied to the American people. You can do with him as you want. Yes, I'd hand his ass over to Iraq. And I would tell Iraq, look, when you're done with him, we want him back, so don't you release him free into the world. Put shackles on him. Fly his ass right there into Iraq. Deliver him as a gift to the Iraqi people. Send some of his staff administration along with him. Bunch of liars and thieves. Murdering how many Iraqis? 1,750,000 children alone, I guess? I don't remember things, folks. If you know how many people were killed in the Iraq War, do leave it in the comments down below. I'm calling your attention to, what's that guy's name? Oh my God, I just said his name, the congressman, the jackass who got up and gave his parting speech accusing us of all kinds of things. And he starts talking about our glorious Republican Party, which started with Honest Abe Lincoln. Look, folks, what the Republican Party is noted for is destroying the Republic. They don't give a damn about the Republic. Look at what they do. They're all for big government, enlarging their own pockets, and grabbing all they can. We are ruled over by liars, by murderers, by thieves. Deceit is great. I know a lot of you think I'm anti-Trump because I come up with a few warnings. I'm going to ride the boy's ass. He's actually older than I am. He sure looks better than I do, though. I got to admit that. He's got his hair. He's in damn good shape for being 4 years older than I am. Yeah, I will vote for him again. I will put him in office. And I'm going to send him a damn set of knee pads, the best, highest quality knee pads I can find, so he can get down on his knees beside his bed every night before he gets into it to sleep and pray to Yahweh. He doesn't know Yahweh yet. Yahweh knows him. Yahweh will use him. The party system was something George Washington warned us against. And the party system is something I don't have an answer to. Maybe you do. Please put it in the comments, because if you've got the solution to this party system, which has taken down America, which George Washington warned us about, he warned us against the party system. If you can figure out a better way, we need to know it, because we need to do it. This government has become our enemy. There's no doubt about it. The Chi-Coms have bought out this government and control almost everybody in D.C., control many of the governors. I've watched the governors of several states doing the Chi-Coms bidding. The governor of Arizona does the Chi-Coms bidding. As a matter of fact, that Mike the Pillow Lindell claims that Governor Doug Ducey's on the Chi-Com payroll. I don't know if it's true. I think he's a thief. I think he comes from an organized family, an organized criminal family. You know, he changed his name for a reason, to hide that history. It had something to do with offshore gambling and betting, and there was prosecution, and I believe the police officer father had to resign just before they were getting busted for it. So whatever crime that the family caused was very organized, and you jackasses, dumbasses in Arizona, put this rhino in office, and he's destroyed a large number of the people in Arizona with his policies and demands. He harmed the economy of Arizona. He's bolstered it in several ways, but mostly so he can enlarge the government coffers. So and the cost of living in Arizona is it's gone up quite a bit. I mean, rents on apartments, when he first became governor, you could get an apartment for as little as $400 in the outskirts of Phoenix. Today, the same apartment, last I saw last spring, was $1,375. There are other places where there used to be apartments available, 2-bedroom apartments. They weren't really very nice, but you could get them for $650. Today, $1,200 minimum. So the cost of living has pretty much doubled in Arizona. And the way he's managed things has enlarged big business. It hurt the restaurant industry. Anyway. Look, folks, we've got dumbass rhinos like that fellow who I mentioned at the beginning of this dialogue of mine that I can't remember his name. The guy's in error. Oklahoma City bombing was done by your own government. As a matter of fact, the fellow they hired to do it, what was his name? 9 months after the bombing, he was escorted out of the country safely by the FBI through Nova Scotia. He was a German. Andy Straussman? Family was associated with the Red Brigade. Look, folks, you need to realize that these corporations that they've created and put governments into, or made the governments in this country, would never have been allowed by the founders of this nation. You need to take it apart. The more you can disassemble this government, the better it will be on the currency at large. The currency being a fraudulent money system that enslaves the rest of us. And just to remind you that we lost this nation because of a honeypot scam. The president at the time, Woodrow Wilson, had an affair with a married woman named Mrs. Peck. Mrs. Peck and her husband, I believe, set the president up, and they were working for the international bankers, for the Rothschilds. And as a result of blackmailing President Woodrow Wilson, they got their central bank through, which allowed them to steal the whole country. They stole my family's property, my inheritance. I tried to tell my father about that. He didn't understand. He didn't understand that the banking system and the mortgage system's big frauds. Yeah, legalized theft, legalized plunder. It's not even gambling. It's a slavery system. And you are walking around saying, oh, the leader of the free world. What free world? You aren't free. They took away your Constitution. They took away your rights. They took away the common law. They took away your Bill of Rights. And they put you underneath Interstate Commercial Code, ICC. That's what rules you today. And you may think that the guy you elect, you may think you put him in office, but no, he's chosen for you. And the people that really own this country bar anybody from entering that office that doesn't think the way they do and isn't part of them. Yeah, even your dear boy Trump is one of them. Not to say I wouldn't vote for him again, because I intend to vote for him in 2024. But the man doesn't know Yahweh. He doesn't submit to the Creator Father yet. Kim Clement said the president was going to be getting down on his knees, that he wouldn't know Yahweh walking into office, but he would come to know Yahweh. So if you want to pray, pray that Trump finds God. Folks, I think we might be able to eke our way through this if we repent. So what's your job at this point? Well, your number one job is going to be putting Trump back in office so he can clean up this mess. And if you think any of your congressmen or senators are A-OK, forget it. None of them are okay. None of them are in office properly either. Abraham Lincoln destroyed the republic. He may have united the country, kept it united. And I wasn't alive at the time. I wasn't an advisor to the guy. I don't really care much to judge him, but I would have to say that he was called Honest Abe because he was a liar and a thief, and he knew that. You see, he stole the presidency because the original 13th Amendment barred any members of the judiciary of that part of the government from crossing over and holding power in another branch of government. The 13th Amendment was the separation of powers. I know that you've been fed a bunch of BS about it being about titles of nobility. That was kind of a sideline of it. It stripped all Bar Association members, since they were British accreditation regency members, of any and all citizenship in the United States of America. Abraham Lincoln was a member of the Bar Association. So it stripped him of citizenship, and it also stopped them from being elected across to the other branches. So no attorney could be elected, since they were already members as officers of the court. They were already members of the judiciary. They weren't allowed to be elected to the legislative branch. They weren't allowed to have a seat in Congress. They weren't allowed to have a seat in the Senate. And above all, they weren't allowed to be in the presidency. Why? Because the attorneys got us in the War of 1812. And we wanted to stop them from doing anything else. Matter of fact, the 13th Amendment, the original 13th Amendment, was ratified by so many of the states that they've done their best to hide that and bury that, because they don't want you to know the truth about it. Because if you realize it really is the law of the land, then you might save your republic. Why? Well, for one, you take all those attorneys out of office that shouldn't be there. There should be no attorneys sitting in Congress. But unfortunately, on March 4th of 1813, they violated the 13th Agreement in the Congress by sitting the attorneys. They shouldn't have done that. They should have kept the separation of powers. And ultimately, you have Abe Lincoln, who became president. We had better men. We had better choices back then. However, I have to admit, Abe Lincoln was able to withstand the Rothschilds' assault on our nation and keep it together. I have to admit that. Now, it came at a price. The Russian Tsar ultimately had to give his life because of defending our nation. The Tsar's son or grandson. You remember the Bolsheviks? The revolution that was launched from our shores, from Manhattan? Remember that they took the Tsar and his family? They murdered the entire family in a Jewish ritual murder? I'd like to see that investigated properly. That has been the accusation. I don't know if it's true. But having read the Bible, I can also tell you that there's a lot of people who say they are Jews and are not. but are of the synagogue of Satan. It says that in the Bible. Either read it, either believe it or not, but it tells you what's going on. It also tells you of our adversaries. The bear is in the Bible. Where is the bear in the Bible? Who does the bear represent today? What nation is represented by the bear? It's in the Bible. Go find it. The dragon is in the Bible. Go look it up. Who's the dragon today? Boys and girls, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. Just go read it. It is the basis for all of Western civilization. It's the foundation of Western civilization. And yet, have you read it? I didn't read it until I was over 50. Man, I could have saved myself so much trouble had I been educated in the Bible. You know, our founding fathers were all educated in the Bible, even the ones who didn't like it. Thomas Paine was a pain in the ass, all right. He didn't like the Bible. It was okay. Still, he was educated from it. Hit that link down below. Buy him one of my Bibles and support my channel. I'm not asking you to send me money. This is not some religious ministry where I'm a pastor and you have to bow down and send me money so you can feel better about yourself. Hell no. I want to give you more value than you give me. And when you go after this Bible, through the links down below, you will see that it ends in 77 cents. That is the cheapest price for that format of the Bible you're going to find anywhere. At least that's what the publisher tells me. I trust him. By the way, the large print Bible is still less than half the price of the competitors. Oh, and one more thing. Those large print Bibles come out of Belarus. We're not going to get them again. They certainly are not going to be this cheap as they are right now. You better grab them because you're going to need something to read through this next year. You really do need to read the Old Testament. It will tell you what the future is. There's a lot of the future that's been prophesied in the Old Testament that hasn't come to pass. You want to know some of what it is? Then you go to my other channel, Awakening Israel. The United States of America is a great Israelite nation. Notice I did not say the. There are several Israelite nations. The English-speaking ones are definitely Israelite nations, but they're not the only Israelite nations. I'm so glad I can say that, because when I name off the English-speaking nations around the world, or places where English is pretty doggone dominant, there's a lot more to us. There's a lot more diversity among our kind than among the rest of the kind of the world. You know, it's time that you learned about your heritage, your inheritance. It's time you discovered your own roots. You think when the Negroes just did that stuff about roots a long time ago, you think they were the only ones that had lost their roots? There ain't no group more lost than white people. There ain't no group that doesn't know its roots more than Caucasians. So you better learn your roots. This government has become the enemy. Anything we can do to downsize it is going to be better for all of us. It'll be better for our pocketbooks as this government spending is cut down and whittled down to size. If it's not absolutely necessary, it needs to go away. We don't need to create work for people. There's plenty of work to be done. There's plenty of services to be provided. My God, we have an industrial base that needs to be built up again. And look at all the work in front of us. I mean, if you don't want to work in industry, you can go to work at the universities and actually do the real research and write the real truth about what's happened in this nation. Man, you want to go to the university? I loved it when I was younger. We talked about everything and anything there. I wouldn't want to go to it today. Don't expect me to go teach those people. If you would like to pray for me, that's fine. Pray that Yahweh, Creator Father, gives me the resources necessary and above all strengthens me, strengthens my constitution so I can do His will. Now, what do you need to do? You need to survive. That's one thing you got to do. But I don't think you can do that on your own anymore. And I don't think you can do it through violence. Yep. Forget about any rebellion. This government was given to you by Yahweh. It's what you deserve. It's what you and I deserve. The national judgment is really upon us, and it is an ugly, bad judgment. And Satan and his minions, the devil and his children, are only too willing and too eager to administer it on the behalf of Yahweh. You see, folks, the devil was given a license. The license was to sift us. Clearly, Satan has exceeded his license. Now, you all need to go to the other channel and watch the other show. I'm not going to give you a full hour tonight. I've wandered around too much. If you're with me, I thank you. Please buy my Bibles. I'd like to sell 1 million of them. I want to turn this nation into a nation of Bible readers. I think selling 1 million Bibles inside the United States of America is a pretty low number. Don't you? I mean, how many of there are here? How many of us are there in the country? 350 million? Oh, it ain't a mere 335 million anymore. We're way over 350 million. We have to support those people. Why? You shed innocent blood. You actually supported abortion. You paid for it. You encourage it. You legislated morality. You legislate morality every time you legislate. And you have shed innocent blood. It's something Yahweh hates. So I suggest the government get out of the abortion business. Oh, I can't help but say Yahweh bless America. That's his proper name. I'm going to use it as much as I can. It's not easy getting used to a new name instead of just calling him God. But God is not a proper noun. I mean, it is a noun, but it's not a proper name. It's not what we call him. The Tetragrammaton, YHVH. He's the one that founded this republic, which was foretold about in the book of Genesis. Towards the end of Genesis in the Bible, the great nation is mentioned. One of Joseph's 2 sons. The 2 sons whom Israel, the man, adopted as his own boys. One of those 2 became a company of nations. And the other one became the great nation. I believe that's the United States of America today. What do you believe? Come on, people, talk to me. Put something down in the comments. Say something nice, or don't say anything at all. That's what Mom told me. Over and out.